BB big, but Rocket as well is something that is interesting. The reason I like or I'm looking at Rocket and why I think it's interesting is because they've done it before, right? There's this muscle memory that, first, as a whole, the Reddit community, that army, as a whole, they become a shark, right? As a whole, they're as big as any hedge fund out there, right? As a whole, they're a shark. They're all moving the pieces in the same way. So you got to respect what they're doing and try to figure it out and figure out what you like and don't like. But again, it's a very, very, very quick, fast game, and you got to be a little bit careful. But one thing here in this Rocket that I'm seeing that is interesting, one, Rocket just picked up in the last couple of days. We see the story, it was down. But remember what happened here, right? Let's go back to Rocket for a second. And so here's the daily in, let me move this a little bit more. All right, so here's the daily in Rocket, and we see at one point it went from 19 to 41. That was only 3 months ago. Okay, so there's still memory of that. There's still, hey, we did it once. Can we do it again? Right? Type of mentality. And here, stock dropped. Remember, it's interest rates go up and people stop refinancing. That hurts the mortgage refinance business, which they're a big part of. And not saying it's a bad company. It is a good company long term. They're going to probably take a lot of business now. They're getting into other types of other areas where they're servicing loans. And it's good. It's just not the industry you want to be in when interest rates are kind of going up and you see housing starts and housing purchases are not doing as well as they were before because prices are getting too high and interest rates are going up, making a purchase of a house not as good as it was, call it a year ago. That said, okay, you have the Rocket. I find this very interesting. You have the Rocket June 25 calls being bought here.
Wow.
Okay. Significant amount of times. It came in right from the get-go in the morning. Stock came off a little bit. They bought calls. They've been buying calls since. See the implied volatility going up. And, why do I find it interesting? I find it interesting because June 18th is how many trading days? 12 now? 10, 11 days away. 11 days away, and they're willing to pay, let's call it $1 for the 25 calls. Okay, and they're pushing volatility way up. Okay, so they're paying $1 for the 25 calls, thinking what? Thinking, without going through, let's just go thinking this is going to happen again. Okay, so now, if they think that's going to happen again, and they think they could push it like GME, you could see that, hey, we pushed it once to 41. Why can't we do it again? Let's get everybody loaded up. And the MO is to load up with calls, and we're going to start pushing this thing. And they're buying the 25s for $1. If they think it's going to 35 for $1, they make 9 to 1, right? They make 9 to 1.
Right.
They're pushing these calls up very high. I think one of the trades that I was looking at, and when I see something like this, I might say, okay, I get what they're doing. I see them trying to set up. And by the way, this is generally not just probably not one person on Reddit that is an average investor. To me, this looks like a hedge fund. Now, I believe, it's just a belief, I have no proof. I believe there are hedge funds that have infiltrated this Reddit army, and they are helping the group guide. It's like, double secret spy. They're helping the group guide them to a certain area. If you're making the money, they don't care. They're going to follow you. But it seems to me that this always starts happening prior to these moves. You start seeing these big setups where there are large options, right? Because you need to put the placeholder there with the large amount of options, which is what is gamma, right? It's basically if the stock starts moving in this direction, what happens? This option becomes much more important, starts gaining more and more weight, right? And that means more and more stock has to be bought by the person who sold those options. So it starts pushing. The call options cause, by way of the option, cause the investment banks to start buying into this rally or this strength. That causes the momentum to happen, right? Because people see the stock moving, they start buying stock, pushing it, and that's how you get these sort of gap ups and moves higher. Also, you have short interest. I haven't even looked at the short interest, but maybe somebody could tell me what the short interest is and what percentage it is. But you have the short interest there, and you're trying to push that short interest to not just, shorts might be selling here, but then the shorts, the way it works is usually just like in stocks, when they're selling and they puke it and you sell it lower, shorts start puking it or get bought out up here, right? And they start pushing it. You get to this circle, and then all of a sudden it goes rapid fire all the way up here. That's the game. So right now, someone is setting up the 25 calls 3 weeks out, 10 days away, and they're willing to pay $1. If they're successful, can they push it higher? Why not? I'm not going to say they can't. But what I think is interesting is, you might be able to, and I think they might have, I'm not sure if they pushed this up. No, they pushed it up a little bit. Stock might have traded up, but the 20, I'm looking at something like the 2025 calls for June, 2025 calls. They were about 70 cents before. They had pushed these up so much. So now they're about 90 cents, 88 cents. You could probably get it for 88 cents to make 420, which is about 80 cents to make 420 is 5 to 1. 85 cents for, let's call it 5 to 1. Mm-hmm. So a 5 to 1 trade versus, to get 5 to 1 on the other one, on the 25s, you'd have to get it all the way up to 31. So that's how I tend to look at the world. I tend to look at the world. Do I want to take the shot that I can make 9 to 1, that they can push it actually through this all the way up into the stratosphere? The reality is I'm probably going to be selling some, on the way up. But, we'll leave the last couple of chips to try to play this move. Or do I just buy this 5-point spread from here to here? They got 10 days. If they're not successful by June, then I get another chance to actually do it again and play something up top. But, for 80, 90 cents, to me, the 20-25 call spread for 10 days at $1 seems a little bit better than the 25 for the same dollar. 25, if it goes to 27 in 10 days, this dollar turns into 2.5 on the last day, 2.25 on the last day. So you make 100%. But if it goes to 26, 27, then you're going to make 400% on this one. So that's the, let's move this down. You're playing sort of this area right here, 24 to 31. At 24, anywhere up to 25, you're going to do better with the call spread. Okay. Anywhere above 30, you got to do basically 31. Anywhere above 31, you will have done better with using the same dollar invested. You'll have done better with just the calls. So that's your pick your poison moment. That's what do you think? What are you trying to go for? I think with these, it is hard to catch exactly when that squeeze is coming, but for whatever reason, the powers that be that are running this game, they seem to think June is where it is, because you would not buy the 25 calls. The only way you win there is if you can get this squeeze. So they're buying it, which means over the next few days, you might just start seeing more and more. Remember, you're mobilizing an army, right? And they have millions of people now with, each of them, let's call it 3 million people with everybody on average, maybe 10 grand. It's a lot of money. Let's call it, how about 3 million people with 2 grand is $6 billion. It's a lot. So mobilizing an army around, and you could start moving stocks. So I think it's interesting. I'm looking at it and I'm saying they're setting up for something here. Keep an eye out on Rocket.